think we can start off by opening this session with a word of prayer. So we can just bow our heads and start with a word of prayer. Vader, wanneer ons vanmôre kom stil word voor U, dan sê ons vir U baie dankie vir 'n nuwe dag wat U ons geskenk het. Dankie vir U genade, dankie vir U liefde. Dankie dat ons vanmôre weet, liewe Here, wat ons is, wat ons het en wat ons ooit besit kom van U af. Ons wil vanmôre kom bely ons totale afhanklikheid van U. En liewe Here, wanneer ons vanmôre na U toe kom, dan is dit gewoonte. Maar moet ons vanmôre weet, Here, U is ons hulp. Wil U vanmôre die dag kom sien? Dis onbekend by ons, maar bekend by U. Ons bid vanmôre, liewe Here, dat U elkeen vanmôre sal kom smak van die kosbare goed. Gee ons vanmôre die nodige wysheid, insig en kennis om dit toe te kan pas wat U ons toe vertrou. Ons dank U, liewe Here, dat ons weet dat ons tot alles in staat is deur U wat ons die krag gee. Kom seën ons van hierdie dag se ure. Ons bid dit in Jesus magtige naam. Amen. Good morning once again, dear members. Good morning to our viewers on our Facebook page. Those of you are also watching the live stream from your social media platforms. My name is Darren Willefeer, as I've just indicated before, and I will be conducting the program this morning. We have quite a packed program for this day, so I would like to give the following through to you. There's Wi-Fi available on the NIPAM Wi-Fi guest. You just select the NIPAM Wi-Fi guest, and then you have access to the Wi-Fi. Our restrooms are on our outside, just on my left-hand side, your right-hand side, and then we would like to ask that you keep your cell phones on silent, please, so that we can have some order during the sessions. Dear members, the GIPF is conducting pre-retirement workshops since yesterday, and these sessions are here to inform, to educate and equip our members for retirement. If you have questions today, you are free to ask your questions. These sessions are here to educate you, to inform you, and to equip you for retirement. This is our second day, and we are excited for this day and what this day will have for us. We have a packed program this morning. We will have our welcoming remarks by the General Manager of Marketing and Stakeholders Engagement, Mr. Edwin Chiramba. Then we will have the overview of the GIPF Retirement Benefits that will be presented by Ms. Ilka Mbaku, the Manager of Client. Then we will have the medical aid, the CMS, also to come and do a presentation to us on their benefits and what it entails on retirement. We will have a short speech by Mrs. Rachel Kovaces that will also come and
Good morning, dear members. Once again, we are excited to be here. At GIPF, we do believe that retirement is a journey, not a destination. And that's something that we are very passionate about. Even us as employees of GIPF, we are on this journey because ultimately that is where we are leading to. So for this morning, I'm going to take you through the GIPF rules so that as a member going on retirement, you know exactly what will be my benefits and how do I go about claiming those benefits. So I will take you through the fund governance. We'll talk briefly about admissions and amendments. We'll talk about resignation benefits, and we'll spend more time on retirement benefits. We'll also talk about death benefits. What happens if I die in service? And what happens if I die after retirement? And we'll also talk about funeral benefits. We'll talk briefly about the evaluation information so that you know what are the increases that pensioners have been receiving over the years. We'll also talk about general requirements. We'll talk about some of the challenges that we are experiencing as a fund that we would want you as our members to assist us with. We'll talk about what we expect from each employer, and what we also expect from you as a member. Because as a member, there are certain responsibilities that you also have. We are also then going to talk about questions at a later stage. And as I said, we are paid simply just to do that. And we have a dedicated team of consultants. Will be able to assist you in whatever language, whether it's Oshiwambo, Herero, Damaranama, whatever language, so that you are comfortable to ask the questions that you need. And to start, GIPF was established with effect from the 1st of October 1989 as an Act of Parliament. Before that, the fund existed, but it was governed initially from South Africa. It was governed from the Finance Ministry, and then with the Sanlam, and thereafter it was then in-house administration from GIPF. And the fund administers all the pension benefits for civil servants and other participating employers. Participating employers, we mean organizations like Social Security and other organizations. And the fund is governed by its own rules, the Pension Fund Act number 24 of 1956, and other applicable acts like the Income Tax, the Marriage Act, and all those other acts. And that's why we also have the colleagues from NAMRA here, so that if you have specific questions on your tax-related issues, they will then be able to attend to you. And a question was asked yesterday, but why 1956? We know it is an old law, but it is currently being revised. It's coming from South Africa, and South Africa has done various amendments over the years. And Namibia has also done the same. And that's why at the moment there is a debate going on concerning the FEMA Act, which is still a proposal from NAMFISA, but I'm not going to go into details into that. This is just in a way to give you the history as to where we are coming from. And the GIPF is a defined benefit, and I will spend a little bit time just explaining what is a defined benefit. There are basically two overall categories of pension funds. The one is a defined benefit, and the other is a defined contribution. With a defined benefit, the benefits are defined, meaning as a member, you will know when I retire, this is the benefit that I will receive. While with a defined contribution, the only thing which is defined are the contributions. So it makes it difficult for a member to plan. While with a defined benefit, the benefits are guaranteed and they are predetermined as well. So it's important that after tomorrow, please make sure that you get a statement so that you can plan and you know, okay, this is the lump sum that I will get, and this is also the monthly pension that I will get. And also with the defined benefit, the risk of investment is borne by the employer. It's not something as a member that you have to worry about. Because the benefit is already guaranteed. Sorry.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Who's talking? Because the benefits are guaranteed, you then do not have to worry about the risk of investment. While with the defined contribution, as a member, you are responsible for that risk.
Hello?
Let's just sort out who is... Okay. It's just some technical issues that we will sort out. And as I said, with the defined benefit, the benefit is known. So it helps you to plan for your retirement. While with the defined contribution, the benefit is unknown. And how do you become a member of the fund? Pension benefit, as I said, is a condition of service. So when you are employed by the civil service, you don't have an option to say, no, I do not want to belong to GIPF because I want to belong to another fund. It is a condition of service. And it's only for participating employers. GIPF get asked so many times by other members to say, but I'm working for Hartleaf, I'm working for Midco. Am I able to become a member of the fund? And the answer is no. It's only for participating employers. And to be admitted, you have to be younger than 60 years, and your admission date is your starting date. For example, if you start by the 1st of April, that will be your admission date to the fund. And as a member, you contribute 7% of your basic salary, and your employer contributes 16%, totaling 23%. That is now the contributions that GIPF gets on a monthly basis, and that is the same contributions that my colleague Levy will talk about how they go about investing those, so that we are then able to pay you better benefits. So if you please, afterwards, take your pay slips, make sure that you are contributing 7%. We've had cases in the past where either members are overpaid or underpaid, and that has affected their contributions as well. And to qualify, you have to be a full-time employee in the employment of a participating employer, and those who cannot become members is people, for example, who are paid by means of fees or allowances, or somebody who does not qualify for an identity document, meaning that person is younger than 18 years, or a person is employed on contract, which says at the end of the contract, that person will only be paid on a lump sum. Or if you retire at the age of 60 or at the age of 55, you can then not become a member of the fund again. So if you are reappointed after retiring from service, you will not be able to become a member. Or if somebody is a seasonal worker or a casual worker, for example, somebody goes on maternity leave and the employer gets somebody to work on your behalf for 3 or 6 months, that person cannot become a member of the fund. Or, as I said, a person is employed for a specific assignment, let's say, for example, 2 years or 3 years. All those categories of members can they not become members of the fund. And to be admitted, we need specific documents, for example, your identity document, certificate of registration, and marriage certificate, and all your dependents' full birth certificate, but I will elaborate more on that when we talk about the benefits. And the admission form needs to be completed by the employer and then submitted to the fund without delays. And throughout your membership, certain things might change. For example, today you are a Van Wyk, tomorrow you are a Simasiku, you get married, for example. The fund needs to be informed so that we are aware and we are able to have all your applicable information. Or for example, if you are today working for Office of the Prime Minister and you change to another participating employer, which is, for example, Social Security in this instance, the fund needs to be informed so that all the communication that we are having, we then have to make sure that it's communicated to the right employer. As I said, other things like, for example, marital status, we will then need proof of that change. In a case of a marriage, we need a proof of a marriage certificate. And if your date of birth or identity number changes for whatever reason, we also need to be informed. We have so many members where the birth certificate is saying they are born 1962, another document is saying 1961. So those are some of the challenges that we're experiencing. And we will elaborate at a later stage. If those changes occurs, as a member, you need to take it up with your employer so that the employer, which is now the HR office, will then complete the amendment form with the supporting documents and submit it to the fund. Resignation is the next topic. You are working for the Ministry of Defense and you decide, no, I'm tired of being in this ministry, I'm going to do my own things. You decide to quit. What benefits are paid? Resignation is the rule number 7, and there are 3 withdrawal options that you as a member can take. The first option is a cash withdrawal. The second one is a transfer to an approved fund. The third one is a deferred pension. Let me elaborate on a cash withdrawal, which is the first option. With the cash withdrawal, the benefits are taxable, meaning when we pay you from GIPF, we will already tax. We will get the tax directive from NAMRA, and then we will tax those benefits. And also, the benefits, you only get what you have contributed plus interest. So you forfeit the employer's contribution. And that is one of the benefits that we don't advise members to take. Even if we receive a claim, we will call you as a member to confirm, but why are you taking a cash withdrawal? Because obviously the benefits are then less than other withdrawal options. The second option is a transfer benefit, and that is one of the most, or it's one of the one which is very popular. With the transfer benefit, you can transfer to another pension or provident fund. Let's say you are resigning from government and you are going to work at Old Hawaiian List. You can then ask GIPF to say, transfer all my pension benefits to the Old Hawaiian List pension fund. So when we transfer that benefit, it will not be taxed. But if you now go to that fund, they will then have to make those other arrangements. And the second one is a preservation fund. This is also one of the most popular options. A preservation fund was simply established a few years ago, and that is really just to assist members, because sometimes a member would resign, but they don't know what to do with their money. So they will then put that money into a preservation fund while deciding what to do. And with the preservation fund, we will transfer the full benefit that we have in the fund. And it also has flexibility to say, if we transfer, for example, 1.5, but you only need to use 200,000, the fund where you are transferring to, they will then ask for a tax directive only on 200,000, so that you don't get taxed on a full amount. And also with the preservation fund, they also allow you, for example, certain withdrawals to say within 2 years, you are allowed to do a number of withdrawals. And with the preservation fund, there are quite a lot in the market with your insurance companies like your Old Mutuals, your Sanlam, Benchmark, etc. And GIPF also has a preservation fund called Kuleni. So what we always advise members, if you are resigning, please do shop around, because it's very important that you know what you are getting yourself into. Sometimes with the preservation fund, you have to pay a commission, and that is coming from your money. Now imagine if you get 1.5 and you are paying 5% as a commission, it is a lot of money. So you need to shop around. What is the commission and how long will it take before you are able to withdraw from that preservation fund? And the third option under a transfer is a retired annuity. With the retired annuity, it's also with the insurance companies. With that, you will transfer your full benefit into a retirement annuity. They will then only pay you a lump sum at the age of 55 or at the age of 60, depending on what you are choosing, and they will also pay you a monthly pension. So a retirement annuity works exactly the same as a pension fund. It's a lump sum and a monthly pension. But with a retirement annuity, you don't need an employer, and you can also contribute or transfer your benefit, and then they can pack it until the time that you need it. That's a retirement annuity. And the third option is a deferred pension. With a deferred pension, you are simply saying, okay, I'm resigning, but I'm not taking my money out of GIPF. Let GIPF keep that money until the time that I will be going on retirement. The only condition is that you should have worked for more than 10 years, and then the fund will then be preserved for you. And with the deferred pension also, it's once you turn 60 or once you turn 55, you then come back to the fund and ask for your money to be paid. All the above options that are given are based on the age, your final salary, and your service period. And that's why we keep on talking about the benefit statement, that if you look at your benefit statement, please make sure that all your details are correct, meaning your date of birth, your admission date, and your final salary, because all our benefits are then based on those components. And the required documents, tax again, They say the only things which are certain in life is taxes and death. So it is something that, for example, if it's a cash withdrawal, we need to deduct tax. And if you are transferring to another fund, for example, to a preservation or whatever, we need that request in writing so that you tell us, transfer my benefits to Sanlam or to Old Mutual or to whatever. Are there questions before we continue? In short, those are the resignation benefits. And because there was also a question yesterday, the proposed act by NAMFISA, what they are proposing basically, it's only applicable if you resign. And it is still a proposal, and that's why I do not want us to go into details, but basically what they are proposing is to say, if you resign from any pension or provident fund, you will not get 100% of your benefits. The fund will pay you 25%, and then they will keep you the 75%, which will then only be paid when you turn 55 or when you turn 60. But it's only applicable to resignation. It does not apply to retirements, which is the next topic. Are there questions thus far? Okay, we can maybe use this one for now. Okay, or let's try to talk up loud for the benefit of other people, please.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Resignation Benefits. I'm a civil servant from also the Prime Minister. My question to Hilda is, can you define the difference between the two parts? They define the benefit and the defined contribution. And then also on that question, can you tell us which groups of the civil servants or which group of the employees are under defined benefit and defined contribution, and the reason why?
Thank you for the question. The civil servants belong to a defined benefit, and GIPF is basically the only defined benefit in the country. There was Rosing, but other employers have moved away from defined benefit into defined contribution simply because it's expensive. Because as an employer, you take that risk because you guarantee a benefit to your member. For example, if the market does not perform, you cannot come back and say, no, but I promised you this benefit, but because of economic reasons, we are not able to pay you those benefits. And that's why many members are now moving away to defined contributions. Because with defined contributions, as a member, if the market does not perform, you then take that knock. While with the defined benefit, the employer promises you a benefit and they must make good for that benefit. That's basically the difference between the defined benefit and the defined contribution. Yes.
Why we are here? Can an employee decide to go to a defined contribution?
No.
Tell me who are the people in the defined contribution. You don't need the one who are in the defined contribution.
Many private companies have a defined contribution. For example, as a GIPF staff, I belong to a defined contribution. Simply because the employer does not want to take that risk of guaranteeing benefits. But government, because they are in a financial position to do that, they have continued to be on a defined benefit. This used to be popular, but many funds or many employers have over the years decided to move to defined contribution. And this was also one of the discussions that has been going on for quite some time as to why government is not moving to defined contribution, but it is a discussion that is currently ongoing.
Our POP,
They have a mixture of a defined benefit and a defined contribution.
the reason being,
I am unable to answer because they have a different set of rules. Yes.
because these are policies not fair. Obviously, I was expecting them to be also defined benefit, just like in our RA. Because you can't be, you are on this side, your each of the other side. There should be something between them.
But those are the things that we as members can take up with our trustees who are representing us on the fund and raise those concerns. Yes. Any other question on resignations? Yes, sir.
I just want to inquire, what is the thing? Deferred pension.
Mm-hmm.
You said if you are a member for 10 years and you then resign, you can still elect to keep the benefit with the GIPF.
Yes.
Now, on the other hand, if you reach retirement at say 60, can you still then decide to retire but to move your whole benefits to another pension fund or something?
No, unfortunately, that will not be allowed. That's why many members prefer to take their money into a preservation fund, because as a member, you then have an option. But if you resign and then you take a deferred pension, when you turn 55, GIPF will then pay you a monthly pension and the lump sum. And the fund at the moment does not make provision for somebody to retire in the fund, get a 1/3, and then you buy pension somewhere else. The rules does not make provision for that. Any other question?
Why then call it deferred pension while it's being preserved in the same fund?
Yeah.
If you are deferring to another fund.
Yeah, you are deferring that you will only retire at a later stage. What you are deferring is a benefit. Yes, you are deferring a benefit to say, I'm resigning, but I do not want to be paid a pension now. I'm going to be paid a pension when I reach the age of 55 or 60. Because remember, at that age when you are resigning, you are not 55 yet. That's why you cannot get a pension benefit, but you are getting a withdrawal benefit, which is a resignation benefit. Yes. Any other question?
Let's say a staff member resign and the staff member has a house and the person resigned within maybe after 8 years. That person is deducted collateral by GIPF. Where does that money go?
It goes to the Ministry of Finance. Remember, the collateral is the agreement. You participated in the housing loan, mortgage bond of government. And when you bought that house, they gave a guarantee to say, okay, we are guaranteeing as the employer that this is how much we will pay. Let's say that collateral was 50,000. And over the years, your house has appreciated in value. What we always advise members to do is to say every now and then, go back to your bank, let them check what is the valuation of your house, so that if the house, let's say you bought that house for 500,000, now the house is $1 million. Obviously, the value has gone up. What they will then do is to release that collateral, which you have to do with the Minister of Finance. They give you a letter to say the collateral has been released. But if that is not done, and you resign or you retire, and there is still that collateral, we will deduct the collateral and pay it over to the Minister of Finance. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The moment you become a deputy director, you are only given that information so that you can go and set off your collateral with the Minister of Finance.
Okay.
But for non-management cadres, it still apply.
Okay. Any question? Can we move on to retirements? Okay, there's a question there.
My name is Shivuta Helmi. Is it possible for an employee to go on annuity retirement and she or he is a part of any loan somewhere, so that if you want to go on annuity, but since she has got a loan which is supposed to deduct the money per month, what to be done? Is it possible or not possible?
You mean you have a loan
somewhere.
and you are going on pension?
Yes, but I'm going for annuity.
Which annuity?
From 55.
Okay.
I'm not 60 yet.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say example, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a loan somewhere to be deducted, whether deducted from the government institution somewhere or somewhere which is non-government.
But give me a specific example. Like what kind of loan?
A loan which
Like a housing loan, like a whatever loan?
just any loan, housing or loan for money or something is deducted. Let me say Ministry of Energy in this country is the one to offer people a loan, a special government employee for solar energy.
Okay.
And still you are to be deducted. You are not finished yet with that money for the loan. And they want to go for annuity on your 55 or 56 and 57 there.
Okay.
Is it possible for you to leave while that money is not finished to be deducted? Or there is any something which can be a hold on?
Yeah, it is possible, but you have to make arrangements with that company where your loan is. Let's say, for example, you are going on retirement. You get a lump sum of 1 million, but you have a loan for a solar or whatever that you took. You can then arrange with that company so that you can either pay that loan off, or you can say, okay, you give them your statement to say, okay, I'm receiving a monthly pension of 15,000 per month. Can I continue then paying this loan until whatever period? It is an arrangement that you have to make. Okay, I see more questions will come out when we discuss the retirement benefits. And that is really the main reason why we are here. Retirement benefits, we are going to talk about normal retirement, we'll talk about early age, we'll talk about ill health and disability, if you are boarded on medical grounds. We'll also talk about late retirement and retrenchment. With the normal retirement, you retire at the age of 60. For example, you turn 60 on the 5th of October and you will work until the end of that month, and GIPF will then pay you a retirement benefit with the 1st of the next month, which is the 1st of November. Many members always ask, but if I'm turning 60 on the 10th of April, why do I have to work until the end of April? And our question is always, but when you are turning 60, for April, you still have to be paid a full salary, right? So you do have to work for that full month. What we will then pay you as a normal retirement benefit is a lump sum, which is 1/3 tax-free, and a monthly pension. The lump sum, 1/3, I always say in Namibia, we must consider ourselves lucky, because in other countries, a lump sum is taxable. They will say, we will maybe give you the first 500,000 is tax-free, and thereafter you start paying tax. But in Namibia, it's whether you get 2 million as a lump sum, it's tax-free. Namibians are becoming millionaires almost on a daily basis, simply because of that. And it's still tax-free. In addition to that, it's a monthly pension, which is payable for life, and it's taxable if it's more than 50,000 per annum. Meaning, if your tax is 4,100, your pension, if it's more than 4,100 per month, then it becomes taxable. And that is also one of the most frequently questions that we get asked. But when I'm working, I'm paying tax. Why am I being taxed again? And the answer to that is that when you are working on your pension contribution, you do not pay tax. If you take your pay slip, let's say, for example, your basic salary is 10,000, and then you take your contribution, which is 7%, 700, we also take 1/3 of the housing. Let's say it's 1,500. At the end of the day, you will get taxed on 8,000 and not on 10,000. Because they then say, the contributions that you have contributed for your pension will be taxed when you receive it. And that's why the monthly pension is only taxed when you receive it. But anybody who gets anything less than 4,000, they do not pay tax. And the formula that we are then using to calculate your retirement benefit is the 2.4 times your final average salary times your years of service. And we come back again why it's important to make sure that your details are correct. The 2.4 is called the commutation factor, and that is an actuarial calculation. It used to be 1.5 and it was increased over the years. And with the research that we have conducted, that is actually the best in the region. Other funds are still at 1.5, at 1 point whatever, and that continue to be improved. So that is what we then use to calculate your retirement benefit. Once we get this, it will come, for example, maybe it's 3 million. 1 million will then be paid to you as tax-free, and then the 2 million will be paid as a monthly pension, which is then payable for life. That is the normal retirement. If you want to go on early retirement, which is only from the age of 55, you need to get the permission from the employer. It's not just a decision that you decide, no, I'm fed up, I'm going on early retirement. You must get permission of the employer. And your pension will then be adjusted by 0.25% for every completed month that you are going early. Let me clarify that. For example, if you get a benefit statement to say your lump sum at retirement, that's at 60, is 1.8. Now you want to go at 58. Obviously, it will not be 1.8 again, because for 2 years, you will not make any contribution. You and your employer. That's why the pension need to be adjusted, and it will then come maybe to 1.6 or 1.7. And that's why we always advise members to say, if you are going on early retirement, please get a benefit statement, or get a quotation, so that you know exactly what will be your lump sum, what will be your monthly pension. Because many members always come back and say, no, but you promised to pay me 1.5, now I'm getting 1.3, where's the difference coming from? Simply because the statement was based on retiring at 60, but now you are going at 59, or you are going earlier than that. And the benefit payable is the same, just like with the normal retirement. It's a lump sum and a monthly pension. The lump sum is also tax-free. And what we also advise members to do is really just, and that's why we are conducting this kind of sessions, is to say, if you are going on early retirement, please make sure that you know what you are going to do. As my colleague said, retirement is not about sleeping from until noon. If you have a business, you are farming, you are doing whatever, and you know, okay, let me maybe go while I still have the energy, whatever, please go ahead. But if you are going to go on retirement, to sit under the tree the whole day, we will advise against it. Because we know for a fact that your pension alone is not enough. And those are really just some of the considerations that we ask members to take into consideration. Because now when you are on retirement, remember your salary falls away. And for many of us, you have resigned, you took your money, now your years of service, maybe you've only now worked for 8 years, meaning you do not have enough pension and you are going on early retirement. Ill health, if you are boarded on medical ground, I'm going to talk about retirement, and then we will then take questions after all the topics are done on retirement. If you are, there are two benefits that if a person is grounded on medical board, it's ill health and disability. With the ill health, you are regarded as if you have retired. You will then be paid a lump sum and a monthly pension, and that is done only once we get the medical board report and the recommendation of the Public Service Commission to say this person has been ill for whatever period. Please let them go on ill health. And the trustees will then look into that, and then you will be given a lump sum and a monthly pension. And the other benefit that a member can get if they are sick is a disability benefit. With a disability benefit, you are not regarded that you have retired, but you only get 75% of your salary. So what the fund will then give you is 75, and on your allowance that we are giving you per month, we will deduct 7%, and the employer will continue paying 16%. Because on disability, you have not retired. And you will continue to be a member of the fund, meaning you will continue to qualify for all the other benefits like funeral and death benefit. And when you are on disability, you can then retire at the age of 60, or you can go on early retirement upon a written request to the fund. Because when you are on disability, your pension, your money is coming from the fund. You don't have to now apply to the employer again. You have to apply to the fund. And as I said, you remain a member of the fund and you need to continue contributing. For example, if you have worked for 10 years and then you are boarded on disability grounds, but you still have 10 years before retirement, by the time you retire, your service period would be 20 years. Because while you're on disability, you are still contributing. Late retirement, that's another retirement type which the Public Service Commission make provisions for. But as indirect conversation to what with the early retirement, with the late retirement, you must get the approval or the request must come from the employer. For example, you are a scientist, you are the only one who knows anything about hydrogen, and government still needs your expertise, and they want you to retire at the age of 65. You will then have to get an agreement from government so that you can work from the age of 60 up to 67. And what we advise members to then do is to say, if you are going to work on late retirement, you can either get your retirement benefit at the age of 67, which is the end of your contract, and then you continue to pay contribution, etc., and your service period is accumulating, or you can retire at the age of 60, which is a normal retirement, and what you will then agree with the employer is an agreement to say, okay, you can give me then an allowance where pension contributions are not deducted. And that is done so that at the age of 60, maybe you want to pay off your house, you want to pay off whatever, you don't want to wait until the age of 67. So you get your lump sum and your monthly pension. In addition, the employer will then give you a monthly allowance without pension contributions. And just like with the other benefits, that is a lump sum, which is tax-free, and the monthly pension, which is payable for life. And the last in this category is the retrenchment, which can also occur at any age. A retrenchment is driven from the employer side. For example, they are coming up with new technology and they do not need your services anymore. So it results from the reorganization of the employer, and the benefit that will be paid really depends on the age prospects of you as a member. Because that application comes to the trustees will then sit and look at, but what qualifications does this person have? Is it possible for them to still get a job? Are they skilled or whatever? And then they will then decide either to give you a withdrawal benefit or a normal retirement. With the withdrawal benefit, it's the resignation benefit that we have discussed, or the normal retirement, which is a pension. In addition to whatever benefit that you will be given, the employer needs to pay what we call a bonus service. Because remember, you are not going by your free will. It's the employer who asks you to leave. And that's why we always ask employers to say, if you are going to retrench somebody, please make sure that you get all the relevant information, because it really becomes costly. Like in that example, a member is retrenched at the age of 40. So the bonus years that we'll then have to calculate, let's say for example, this person worked for 22 years, meaning the 1/3 of that is 7.3, or the difference between 40 and 60, it's 20 years. The 5 years, because we said it's the shortest of those three scenarios, so this person will be paid an additional 5 years, which becomes very costly. And that's why, as I said, employers, before you retrench anybody, please make sure that you get all the figures. And when you are going on retirement, what is important is the certificate of registration for taxpayer. We need your proof of banking particulars. And in the case of early retirement, we need the employer approval letter. And in the case of ill health and disability, we need the medical board report. And what we also advise members who are going on retirement is really to take a participative role in your own activities. Let's say 3 months before you are going on retirement, already start preparing your things. Go to HR and say, okay, I'm going on retirement. Where is the form? What is whatever? So that we then pay you on time. Because what we say is responsibilities don't go on retirement. If you go on retirement, our wish at GIPF is to say, if you retire at the end of April, by the 15th of May, we want to pay you your benefit so that you can then pay all your other things. But if you do not take a participative role, you'll find yourself, you have retired 6 months down the line. You'll be saying, no, but those GIPF people don't pay people on time, simply because you have not even given all the details or all the supporting documents that we need. We have also had many members, somebody gets paid the leave gratuity and then off they go to the village, thinking that is a pension. No, these are real stories. Are there questions? Sorry, before I come to death benefits, let's just touch on the approved deductions. On your pension benefits, there are specific things that can be deducted. Pension is one of those things which is highly, highly protected. Even if you owe add gas or whatever, unfortunately, it cannot be deducted. So the things that are approved in terms of the Pension Fund Act is a normal or arrear tax. Here is the tax again. So if you do not submit your returns, when you are going on retirement, that's when NAMRA will come knocking on your door. So please make sure that your tax issues are in order. Housing loan or collateral, we have discussed that. Damages due to employer due to theft, dishonesty or misconduct, on condition that there is a court order or the employee has given permission. We get many requests from employers to say, no, this person traveled to Hobabes and then they were overpaid and SNT, it's not deducted. Unfortunately, it cannot be deducted. We also can deduct maintenance claim, medical aid premiums, and insurance premiums. So the medical aid premiums will be deducted then from your pension on a monthly basis. But the colleagues from medical aid will elaborate further on that. And insurance premiums, we have very few cases, because when people are going on retirement, let's say you are going on early retirement, but you still have a policy with Sanlam that you are paying, maybe you want it to be deducted from your monthly pension, but many members prefer for that to be deducted directly from their bank accounts. So these are the only things that can be deducted. Even if you are paid a salary of whatever thousands, it cannot be deducted from your pension, because that's how protected pension is. Any questions on retirements before we move on? Any questions? Are we all clear? Do we now know what to do when we are going on retirement? And as I said, as members, we have responsibilities. Sometimes it's very easy to blame. No, it's HR, but we also need to get involved. Yes, sir?
Yes, I just want to know, how do you determine the average salary? I'm now asking in terms of that formula that you gave.
Okay, that's a very good question. So what we do, because pension must be paid in completed months. Let's say, for example, you are retiring at the end of December, but in June, you got a salary increase. Maybe you were earning 150,000. Now you are earning 165,000, which you only got for 6 months. So it will be unfair for the fund to pay you at the 165 because you did not contribute for 12 months. So we will then say for 6 months you contributed on 100 and then 150, 165. It's just the average of the salary that you have received. But if your salary did not increase for the 12 months when you are going on retirement, we take the final one.
So we're talking about the annual salary or the monthly salary?
No, it's the annual. We take a pay or basic salary times 12, then it becomes your annual. Yes, sir?
Thank you, Hilka. Hilka, the bone of contention why civil servants are angry is the lack of information. Both from top to bottom, people are not given proper information. And that's why you find out the media, they are taking advantage of it. To be honest, as I asked the first question, the defined benefit and the defined contributions, this thing need to be discussed. Either GIPF should get a platform to talk to your civil service about the benefits and what are the good part and what are the bad part, because it looks unfair. GIPF, you are on a different pension fund. Our politicians, they are different pension. The poor civil servants, they are forced to remain with this one. Honestly, somewhere, somehow, something is not clear. That's why, as I said, medias are now taking advantage. They are informing us left and right. That's why this thing is not a bad thing. People not yet hear the one upcoming, but they are already trying to get that shield. Because we wanted to be told what is wrong with the current status before we move to the new one. Because it's really unfair. You can't decide for people for all the time. They say you can fool people at the time, but not all the time. I think really, GIPF, you need to be on a driving seat, talk to your civil servants, and let's clear these things. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a good suggestion. And there is always room for improvement. We do have member education sessions, even when people are being employed or whatever, but obviously that is not enough and we need to do more. And the GM, stakeholder engagement, is here and he is taking note. And that is really one of the things that whenever we do member education, when we come to HR, when we come to ministries, sometimes we'll find there's only 3 or 5 people in the room, and those are the people who are going on retirement. But what we try to tell members is to say that is too late. You need to start planning for your retirement when you start working. But we do take your concern. It is valid. Any other question on the retirement before we move over to death benefits? Yes. Oh, yes, sir.
I just want to hear from you, I don't know, that whenever you retire, the GIPF put it to a life expectancy on 65. And from 65, the benefit you were getting for these 5 years, it will reduce or become less than whatever you were getting for the first 5 years. And then continue. That's what I want to get.
Okay, that is definitely not correct, but I think what is being mixed up is if you retire and then your benefit, that's a lump sum, the monthly pension, it does not reduce. You will continue getting that until you are no more, with the pension increases, which we will discuss at a later stage. But what is being mixed up is to say if you die after retirement, what will then happen? And that is the topic that we will discuss with the next one. If we can just hold on to that for a while. Any other question? Can we move on to death benefits? Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, okay. Okay, those are the things that we say. Let's say, for example, you retire, we give you a lump sum of 1.5. It comes directly into your bank account, and if you still have a house, that you still have a bond or whatever that you need to pay, you then make a plan with your bank so that you can maybe settle your house at that stage. And what we always advise members to do is ideally, pension, don't use your lump sum to pay off your house. As you are working, make sure by the time you retire, it's either you have paid off your house or you have maybe very, very little amount that you just need to settle. But at retirement, if you still have a bond left, you then have to make arrangements so that you settle that bond and any other debts that you might have. And what we also advise members is to say, okay, I was just informed by NAMRA that if you want to check your tax status, the system is here during break. Please make a point to go to their desk so that you can just check. Because as I said, it's very, very important. You don't want surprises. You are retiring and you are told, no, you owe NAMRA 200,000. So those are the issues that we are talking about. Yes. Okay, with the collateral is the guarantee that government gave you when you bought that house. Let's say you bought the house 20 years ago and government gave a collateral. It was not money, it was a guarantee, let's say of 50,000 that they gave to FNB when you bought the house. Now it's 20 years later, now you are retiring. Government still has that 50,000 that they gave you a collateral. But what you can do as a member is to go to your bank and then they will then do evaluation of your property to say, no, I've had this house for now 15 years. Can you do the valuation? Maybe you bought it for 500,000. Now the house is 1.5. What they will then do, you take that information to the Ministry of Finance, to the collateral section. They will then release that collateral. And then they will give you that letter. Meaning, when you retire or when you resign, nothing has to be deducted because that collateral has been released. But that is information that many members do not do. They resign or retire and they still have to pay for that collateral simply because they do not go and have those things arranged, but it can be released.
People who do not know. If you release this information as you are doing now, we will know and people will not do mistakes. It's only when you know that we do the right thing. But normally, honestly speaking, GIPF, you don't give information. You assume we know what you know. Whilst we can read and write, but we are not that honest. We don't speak GIPF language. We don't know.
No, we do agree, and that's why these are some of the platforms that we are now really using to make sure that our members understand their rules and their benefits. Okay, can we move on? There's a question there.
I think I can speak loud enough. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. I would like to ask a question in regards with the collateral. Now, let's say I finish paying my house, and then that's it. And I resign after 3 years. Do I still have to pay collateral if the house is paid off?
Once the house is paid off, it's still an arrangement that you have to make with the Ministry of Finance because they are the ones who gave you that guarantee. So if the house is sold, if the house is paid off, then they will release the collateral, but they will then have to give you the letter to say the collateral has been released. Okay? Okay, can we, so that we don't delay, because we still have a long program ahead, can we take some of those individual questions during break or after, during the Q&A? Because I'm just feeling that we are running out of time.
Those are the things people are complaining that they don't give information. Let people hear what they want to hear.
We're learning from them.
Yes.
Okay, there's a question there.
I think I have a loud voice. I'm still on collateral. If the house is paid up, do I still have to go to the bank because it's like we have finished with the bank? How do I go about?
Thank you, Hilka. If you paid off your house, you are still required to go to the bank, get your certificate from the bank, you take it to Ministry of Finance for them to see that, yes, your collateral, which was given, they have to cancel it because you have paid it off as per agreement.
You have to go. Yeah, so sorry, madam. While we are there at the collateral, for example, I paid my house already now before retirement. I paid 2 years ago. I paid off. Now, 2 years from now, I'm going to retire. The bank already gave me that letter. I'm still hanging it. Must I wait until I'm retiring or take the letter to the Ministry of Finance, or can I take it anytime so that they can remove it?
Anytime. You don't have to wait until you go on retirement, but the sooner the better, so that they can also then just update their details. Because Ministry of Finance does not know that you have paid off the house, or you have sold the house, or whatever. Otherwise, when you are resigning or retiring, that's when now that information will come up.
And also just to add something a little bit to that, because the collateral is really a formal agreement between that your employer has undertaken on your behalf with the bank. Another thing is what we also realized, a few people you might pay off the house and it remain paid up. But many of us will again be tempted to go back to the bank and take what they say it's a continuing bond. Maybe now you want to improve here, you want to build a small kabete kamer after, and then you are again indebted on that house. And should anything come up, that letter is still on file. And the way our banks works, everything has to be by the book. So the advice is only if this contractual agreement is done, the house is paid up, or the house has appreciated, which means a house is not like a car. The moment you buy a car and you drive out, some value is already gone. But the house, you don't even have to do anything to it. Your neighbors might have even painted their house, and all of a sudden the market prices in your street, they go up. So by the time you are close to retirement, your house already would be already at a value above that collateral that the employer promised to pay the bank should anything happen. And now this is only one thing that is holding on your book at the bank. Get it over with. Just go to the ministry and say, my house has this value, release that collateral over my property to my bank, and it's end of the story.
Thank you, Mr. Chiramba. Can we move on? We are almost done. We are going to talk about death benefits. What happens if you die in service or die after retirement? As I said, they say in life there are only a few things which are certain. Taxes and death. You are only away to go to Tsumeb for a wedding and you die in a car accident. What should we pay your family members? Those are now the death benefits. So death before retirement, a death benefit consists of two portions. It's a lump sum which is tax-free, and it's paid in terms of Section 37C, meaning it's the trustees that sit and decide how that should be paid. And in addition to that, it's then the monthly pension, which will be paid to your spouse and the children. Let me discuss a little bit on the lump sum. As I said, the lump sum is tax-free and it's 2 times your annual salary. If you take your basic salary times 12, you would know, okay, it's 300,000 or 400,000 that will be paid as a lump sum. So what will then happen once the claim comes to GIPF? The trustees will sit and look at the individual case. They will see, okay, this person was married, he has nominated, there are children, maybe you have nominated your brother, your sister, or whatever. So the trustees will then decide in what portion will that benefit be paid. And that's why with the nomination form, it only guides the trustees to say, in the event that I'm no longer there, pay my benefit to these people, but it will not be followed 100%. The reason being, we have many cases where you have somebody's married, they have kids, but they decide, no, because my kids are not my family, I'm leaving my money to my brother or to my sister. And that will not be fair, right? And that's why when you are no longer there, the trustees will then come and then take that decision as to how the lump sum will be paid. In addition to the lump sum is the pension, which is 40% to your qualifying spouse. I will talk about the qualifying spouse in a minute. And then in addition to that is a monthly pension to the kids. If you have minor children up to the age of 18, or if they are studying up to the age of 25, they will get a monthly pension. And if a member is married, it's 30%, that is the tip of, or that is the cap. To say it's 10% per child, but if it's 10 kids, then we will take 10 divided by 30. And for a single person, that monthly pension for kids doubles because now there is no spouse. Meaning, if you are single and you have one minor child, that person, instead of getting 10, they will get 20%. That's where the difference is. And for a qualifying spouse, we are referring to somebody who is married under civil or customary law. If we have many cases where, for example, somebody is married under customary law and they have got, for example, 3 spouses, the trustees will then have to check how dependent were these spouses so that they can then decide how much each will get in terms of the lump sum and the monthly pension. And if they find that, for example, there are 2 spouses who are married under civil law, they can then decide, okay, let's give each spouse maybe 20%, or let's give this one because she's working less and whatever. Those are the decisions that the trustees take. And for the monthly pension to be paid, we said a child must be a biological child or a legally adopted child. Legally adopted is very important because in our houses we have got our nephews and nieces that we are taking care of. If that child is not legally adopted, they will not qualify for a monthly pension. But if you have nominated your nephew or your niece, they can be considered for a lump sum. And in addition, if there is a stepchild who was substantially dependent on you as a member, they will also then be paid that monthly pension. And for disabled children, the monthly pension is paid up to the age of 25. While for other children, it's up to the age of 18, and if the child is going to school and they can prove on an annual basis, that pension will then be paid to that child until the age of 25. And then at the age of 25, the pension stops for children. But for a spouse, it's paid for life. Those are the death before retirement. And the documents that we will need, I'm not going to go into details. What is important is, for example, identity document and banking particulars of all the people that you have. Let's say the nominees, the guardians, people who are looking after the kids and everybody. And after retirement, you retire, GIPF pays you a lump sum and a monthly pension, and then you die after you have retired. What benefits are payable? And that is now what we are going to discuss at this moment. So what we are saying, and that's a question that the gentleman there asked, your pension is guaranteed for 5 years. It does not mean that you retire and then you are only paid the pension for 5 years. No, it means if you die after you have retired, your pension to your spouse will continue at the same rate until the guarantee period expires. Let me give an example. For example, you retire at the age of 60. And then at the age of 61, you die. So your spouse will get, and you are getting 10,000. your spouse will continue getting that 10,000 for the next 4 years. And thereafter the 4 years, it reduces to 50%. And it will then be paid for life until she is no more as well. And the question that we get asked also a lot is that, for example, what happens if my spouse remarries? Fortunately or unfortunately, that pension continues because it's payable for life. The conditions does not say that pension will be paid until the person remarries or whatever, so it continues. And for example, if you die as a pensioner at the age of 66, which is after the guarantee period, and you are married, your spouse will then immediately, you are getting 10,000, you die at the age of 67, your spouse will continue getting half of that, which is, let's say in the case of 10,000, the spouse will get 5,000, which is payable for life. And it increases with the annual pension increases. And the guarantee period, this is just an illustration to say if you go on early retirement, your guarantee period will be 60 years, and at the normal retirement, it will then be 65. And that is really just the life expectancy and things that actuaries have looked at to say, if you get your 1/3 and 2/3 should, by 65, that money would have been paid off. The monthly pension that was supposed to be paid to you. And if you are single, you die, for example, at the age of 61. Remember, you die within the guarantee period, meaning there's still 4 years. We will then calculate and say, okay, you are getting 10,000 per month. 10,000 times 4 years, it comes to 800,000. That 800,000 will then be paid to us by the trustees. They will look at the circumstances. Maybe you have kids, or maybe you have nominated, whatever, they will then pay to that. In the case where you do not have a nomination, and maybe where you don't have any dependents, it will be paid to your estate. Your estate, meaning a family member who is appointed as an executor, they will then decide how that money will be paid. And that is the only time that pension money becomes part of an estate. If you do not have any dependents, and if you have not nominated anybody, and that's why it's important that to complete a nomination. And if you are single and you die after the ages of 65, then the pension stops. Because we are then taking it that in that 5 years, whatever the fund had was already paid. And that's where I think the differentiation or the confusion sometimes comes in. To say if you are single, it stops immediately. It only stops if you die after the age of 65. And as we have said, life expectancy is increasing. We have many members who are above the age of 90, meaning people are living longer. Can I discuss the funeral benefits and then we take questions? I'm almost done, maybe 5 more minutes and then I'm done. Sorry, can you repeat? Okay, let's take a break and take the questions on death benefits. Are we all clear what benefits are payable if you die in service and if you die after retirement? There's a hand at the back.
Thank you, Madam. Can you go back to your slide when the member is no more during employment?
During retirement?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that one. What I'm seeing at this stage, is an executor required, or will GIPF handle the matter between the trustees and the qualifying children or spouses? So I submit.
So what usually happens, let's say for example, if you have a spouse and there's children and you have completed a nomination form, an executor will not be required. But what we advise family members is to say, they need to appoint somebody whose who's handling all the affairs, maybe completing the forms, getting all the supporting documents of family members, of people who are nominated, etc., then that is now is going to be the contact person. On executor only becomes necessary in this time, for example, if you do not have dependents, meaning there are no biological kids, you have not completed the nomination form, you are not married. That means an executor, your pension will then be paid to the estate, and there the executor is needed. I hope I have clarified that. Okay, any other question?
I think she has a question. No, the question was answered.
Oh, okay. Okay, there's a question at the back.
Yes, thank you. This has happened whereby a staff member absconded and then the service was terminated and then later they passed on. But later on, the family members were informed that there was still money at GIPF. How is that possible? I mean, will there still be money after somebody has claimed their money?
No, if the staff member was discharged, for example, they were dismissed, there is only a resignation benefit that will be paid, not a death benefit. So that money, let's say for example, the staff member died immediately afterwards, after they were dismissed. That money will then be paid to the estate of that person, and the family must claim from the estate. Because in this case, the person was working, they were dismissed, and then afterwards they died. So it will be a resignation benefit that will be paid.
But in this case, the family members came back to the ministry,
saying that they were called by GIPF that they must go and claim the money that was still there. Now we're wondering now, where does the money come from if the person is already claimed? We already have the copies of the claim forms.
I think we can take that on an individual basis so that we can have the specifics, so that we know exactly what case it is.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not possible then for somebody to be dismissed and then they still qualify, no. Okay, sir?
Yes, I'm making a question on the benefits of children, about benefits of children no more qualifying to get money after the main member passed on. Say, for example, I'm the father of these kids, I passed on, they don't have a mother anymore. They were only depending on me, and they are above 18 and not studying, or they are between 18 and 25 and maybe studying. But now they don't qualify in terms of the rules of GIPF. Is there anything GIPF can do about this? Why was it decided like that? Because even if they are 30, relatively still young, in my opinion, we know about the employment rate in this country. Now you are telling me my child who is 30 years, I'm now 60 years, my child is 30 years, is still my child. This child cannot get anything from whatever I contributed to GIPF, and I'm no more there. Where must this child, who is 30 years, go and eat? From the dustbin or from where?
Okay. The question is clear. And as per our explanation, the child who's 30 and plus or above the age of 18 and they're not studying, they will qualify for the lump sum, even if that child is 40. But you need to nominate that child. And if that child is above the age of 18 and that child, let's say for example, you have a child who's working, meaning that child was independent, they were not dependent on you, but you still want that child to get something from your pension, then you have to nominate that child. So that when the claim comes to the trustees, they will then have to look at the equity of the whole position and say, okay, who was more dependent on you at the time of death. But what we are advising is for members to nominate, but unfortunately for monthly pension, it ends at the age of 25 because the responsibility of the fund also has to end somewhere. And that's why many members, many funds have moved away from monthly pension because it becomes very costly. The fund that I belong to, for example, GIPF, as a staff member, I don't have a monthly pension. If I pass on my minor kids, my husband, unfortunately, there won't be a monthly pension for them because it becomes very, very expensive. And that's why, as members, we advise our members to make those provisions for their family members because the responsibility of the fund ends at some point. And that's why we are saying, even if the child is disabled, because we also get asked many, but that child will be disabled for the rest of their life, where do we expect that money to get assistance from? And unfortunately, even in those cases, the monthly pension stops. And then we then refer them to other social protection, like maybe the Ministry of Gender or whatever.
Yes, thank you very much. Mine was also a similar case of the previous speaker. My sister retired on November, 3 years back. In February, she passed on. When we engage with your office, all those kids, they don't get anything. GIPF got that money up to now. Because of those kids was over the age. Your hard-working money. Huh? That's why I'm also here today to ask you that question. Because you people, you have been treated as like dogs in your office. Even the GM, he was there. I was having an infight with him about my sister. She was a worker at high school academia. Only after 2 months she passed on.
My condolences, sir. But in that case...
No, but that day you guys was not saying, Miss Bago, I also know you very well. That day you even not saying my condolences. You guys called the securities to chase us out of the office.
Sir,
where is that money up to now?
That money should definitely be there. And
where?
Per the example that you gave, that member retired.
That is a daylight robbery.
The member retired and then she passed on within the guarantee period. And as I've explained, if a member dies within 5 years, definitely the remaining balance will be paid. And that's why I don't want us to go into details, but please see me during break so that I can take the specifics of the case. But there's no way that I can tell you that there's no money available if I know there is money available. I just want us to rush a bit because we are running behind schedule, but I know all the questions are important, but we just need to...
Yeah. Good morning. My question is on children beneficiary, especially for men. Okay, if the child, the father died while the child was 2 weeks old, and that child never benefited from the father's pension, the mother did not know, and then that child grew up, and now at the age of 18, that child had to benefit from his father's pension. Everything is already, the other people were paid. What will happen to those children? Okay, my name is Waita. I'm working for Agriculture Awareness Officers. And that is, I have a case, a similar case in that one of the parents, the children who came to me asking what can be done in that case.
What then needs to happen? That's why with every death claim, we conduct an investigation, ready to find out these all the family members, but should it happen like that where we pay a claim and the child comes up later on, we will then carry out an investigation to find out whether did we search enough. If not, that child will then qualify. All they have to do is to complete a form, which will come to our office. We make a motivation to the trustees so that that child will then be paid a monthly pension for now 18 years basically. Because it's from 2 weeks until the 18, or if they are still going to school, but we have to carry out an investigation to establish what happened, why the child was not paid. But those cases are many and we handle them as they come.
Can I proceed? Mine is just a comment that need to be taken up by GIPF management. You consistently mention about the board of directors. If you ask this room, who are the board of directors of GIPF, they don't know. Board of trustees. People are running affairs on behalf of others. Out of these 10 board of directors, I'm only foreseeing 3 civil servants. Gons Maneti, Penda Isindi, Nashani is replaced. Maswahu is from the union. Siseho is from the union. Honestly speaking, as I said, we are only now depending on media. The way board of directors are appointed, the contributors, the owners of these pensions, they need to know. And what are the quality of the people? Because these people here, they don't have no interest of the civil servant at all. Because majority of them, they even never worked for civil service. Just because you are a lawyer from wherever you came from, you are appointed to manage the affairs of the civil service. Colleagues, the world is moving. The world is moving. We are no longer going to take anything which is just thrown into your front. That's why, as I said, civil servants, they are so frustrated. You work for government for 30 years, only to be informed on the 29th. We have only 1 year to go. It's when you are called for a meeting for the first time. Tate Shiramba, please, go on. Civil servants are there in the rural areas. People need information. Otherwise, honestly speaking, we might really shoot ourselves in there. We are all doing good for the civil servants, but at the end of the day, people are not getting information. This board of directors, these are full-time employees, people who are very, very busy with their affairs. They only check on their personal pensions, but they are not checking on the welfare of the city. That's why in their meetings, even when we raise issues, they don't consider it. The other time we came to OPM, we had a good engagement. We thought we were lucky because we were having a board of directors in the meeting. He left the meeting. When we start asking questions, he just left the meeting. And he's a board of trustee for GIPF. I think these guys, they need to work to give information to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a valid point. Sorry, 2 more in the back, and then we'll.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to clarify. So if I die after retirement, say 2 years after retirement, my spouse dies 5 years after retirement, and I have a dependent child at that point, will that child get any benefit from my pension that is left?
You die after retirement, and then your spouse takes over the pension, and then she also passes on after 5 years. There will nothing be payable to the child. Because you died, for example, year 2, and your spouse received money, let's say, for example, for 5 or whatever 6 years, because then the guarantee period has already passed. But let's say, for example, you die after retirement 1 year, and then your spouse also die year 2. That means there's still 3 years. In that case, your dependent child will then be paid a lump sum. So we always have to look at the 5 years. Who is dying at what stage?
Ilga,
yes.
Since the microphone is closer to me here, if you look in terms of Section 37C of the Pension Fund Act, in whose hands are we, the civil servants, if we like to amend that act or that section? Why I'm saying this, I echo the sentiments of the previous speaker. If anyone any one of us die here today, we get twice the annual salary. But now I want you to confirm or to deny this, Hilka, Ms. Babo. If you die today and you are administering our pension funds, your beneficiaries won't get twice the annual salary, but your beneficiary will get 5 times your annual salary, and you are dealing with our funds. I don't want to use the soft words that were alluded earlier on. In whose hand are we? Look, are the trustees acting in good faith and on behalf of the employees, or in whose benefits are they? So, Samir, you can, Ms. Bago.
Okay, thank you, sir, for the question. And that is a valid point. And as I said, my colleagues are taking note pertaining to the concern relating to trustees. Our pension fund, as I indicated, is a defined contribution. We do not have a monthly pension. Should I pass on today all what will be paid to my nominees, dependents, and everybody, it will be that lump sum, which is 5 times. It looks a lot, but it is not. If you compare to a civil servant who has a spousal pension, who has a monthly pension for a child, imagine somebody dying with 3 minor kids who will be paid a pension for 10, 15 years. And that's why I mentioned yesterday that I actually wish I was in a civil servant fund. So that, because the lump sum looks a lot, but it is not. But it is something that the trustees and management continue to look at. The death benefits are currently being revised so that, because they get improved on a regular basis, so that they keep up with the pace. Because one of the concerns that we also get on a regular basis is the death after retirement, especially for single members. And those are some of the things that the fund is currently looking at. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good morning. I'm just following up on what Mr. Ndongo said with regards to the Board of Trustees. Yesterday, it was mentioned that the civil servants are represented by the unions. But from what I have seen, unions are not representing anybody but themselves. They cannot speak for the civil servants because they politicize everything. When it's convenient for them to enter parliament, unions are busy jumping around the whole place and even miss the information relating to their members. So will this probably not be considered as part of the things to be changed perhaps, that representation of civil servants on this trustee board and all those type of things be reconsidered and looked at closely, because you cannot represent me if it is not in my interest. You are just jumping around when it suits you to shout around and say, oh, we will take government to task, we will take government to task. But when the government turns around and uses you to put you in a position that is beneficial to you, you forget what you were standing for. And this is where this misinformation is coming in. And when it comes again on us, the civil servants, like Ms. Bako is just an employee at GIPF, just like we are employees of the government. Do not blame these people for the pension that they are on, because government has chosen GIPF for us. Their employees have chosen their whatever pension fund for them. So it's not them deciding to get more money when they are dead 5 times and us only 2 times. So we must please also understand and separate the story here. They are employees just like us. If things are not working out in public service, when we are sitting in public service and our HR is also not relating the things to the members correctly, because there are some HR who don't understand what they are doing. People will go there 10 times. They are not even given The information is there in HR. What documents are required there? They are not assisted. But GIPF has sent those things to the HR already, but we are not communicating to our people. So we must understand when we are at platforms like this, is to share information, but not to blame or to attack. And then if GIPF is not doing something and we raise here, we hope GIPF will also stand up and look into some of these issues that are raised at this platform and change certain things in our interest and also in their interest to better their services that they are giving us. Okay. This is just an advice, partly. Thank you.
Point well taken, and it's and that's why that's why my colleagues are here. And as part of your package, there is an evaluation form. Please give all those comments and inputs in, because those are the reports that we give to management and trustees on the concerns of members. Many things have been improved over the years simply because of the voices of the members. And things can only improve, for example, if you are raising them. Okay, can I have 2 more questions and then we'll move on, because I'm really getting worried. Okay, the mic is at the back. Can they just do that and then we'll come to you. But as I said, there is a Q&A and we'll also take individual questions. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Elka. There's something that I don't know if it's new information at GIPF, because there is this thing that if a person passed on and he was cohabitating with somebody, or let me say the man is married, but when he was in Windhoek, he was living with another lady. So that lady is entitled to benefit from that person's pension. Is that true? Because I've had a case like that also.
No, it's not. And that's why I don't want to take individual cases, but with every death claim, the trustees would look at what is the circumstances. In a case like that, the person is married, maybe the spouse is in Maruru, and the person was cohabitating in Windhoek. If that person is nominated, the cohabitee, nominated as a friend or whatever, the trustees might consider, because the person is nominated, but to get the monthly pension, that person will not qualify. Remember, with the legal marriage, you can only have 1 legal spouse. But with the customary law, you can have 3 or 4 spouses.
Another here. This is a demand. It's not a question. It's a demand. Please, I demand, the way I see GIPF and the way I see how the duration from the 60 to 65, something there, this duration is set up. This demand is towards the board directors of GIPF Fund. Please, why this regulation cannot be changed? If a person to 60 in normal retirement, get that person all his money. No more this duration of going to 65 duration between the what if a person will die, so the beneficial and so on. 60 is enough, and while a person has got a little bit strengthening to use his or her money, in 60, why can't the regulation cannot be changed, so that in 60 maybe only some months of arrangement for a person to be given all what his money is entitled to the GIPF to be given. Now there is, you go in 60, you are tired already and old. There you have got a little bit of ability. And then now the situation of 5 years they are getting to 65 and so on. People need to get their money where they are saturated, where they can do something. So that after from 60 to 65, maybe where this was not supposed to happen for a person to go, she or he has used his money, and there's nothing anymore for the people to come to GIPF, what has passed away, and so on. That was a good high school a person has suffered for. In 60, give it 2 months, 3 months, give all his money or her money, so that a person can enjoy while in good condition. Thank you. This is straight to the board directors. A regulation must be changed there in Namibia. Thank you.
Thank you, and I like the way you ended, because you absolutely understand that this is not the making of the GIPF or its board of trustees. The GIPF, as an administrator, is there to be regulated under NAMFISA to enforce currently the 1956 Act, which is the act that not only governs us, but every single pension industry in the country. Unfortunately, me and you, we catch us the most wind because in that forest, the GIPF and the civil servants are the tallest tree. Even when these regulations are going on now, everybody is blaming the GIPF for even having something to do about their salaries when they work for Pupkevitz Toyota. And we say, how can we be that powerful? But we also do understand we are a big role player. Now, what you are proposing is to absolutely change the whole purpose and outlook of a pension fund. Because you are saying it should end at 60, and at 60, don't even give me the 1/3 lump sum, give me everything. And beyond that, there is no pension to anybody. What will happen after that? Me and you might say it's your problem, but when you look at government, the way government works, not only in Namibia, but all over the world, it's to take care of everything across a whole broader spectrum of considerations. And it's not always that it will be pleasing. And I'm not a spokesperson for government, but I'm just looking from the side of the pension industry. But what we have undertaken this year to do, and it's on the strategic scorecard of the GIPF, we have said, let's do a comparative study. How comparative are the GIPF services and products today compared to how they were a few years back up to where we are now? We are not only looking at Namibia, but we are also looking at comparatively similar industries, especially Botswana and South Africa, which still have one of the few defined benefit funds in the continent, where everybody has moved to another scene. We are also purposefully now going to look at this 2/3 that is left in the fund to pay for your pension for life. As explained, we are the only fund that after 60 still pay a salary to a deceased member's spouse for life. Children up to a certain age, it's only the GIPF. And we have to compare and see, now when you compare us to those that pay off a lump sum, how competitive are we? But most importantly, we also need to take, let's say, a nurse or a teacher, the one even at the highest level of that salary, I think will be a principal, and say, come at 60, they get their 1/3. Truly speaking, how far does the 2/3 that remains go? And God forbid, we will not even say when they die within 5 years. Right now we have over 19 GIPF members who are 100 plus. 100 plus years old. For those who are male, I will even guess their spouses are for the most part younger. I'm just saying that. God forbid they leave us today, but I trust you, when you calculate from the time that person went on retirement and now they are 105, it's over 45 years that these members were getting a pension. The way the GIPF pension, maybe the forefathers and the foremothers, what they had to take into account was the days of our lives, which is not a straight line. It's like this. You have me, who's customarily married as a heroman to 4 wives. I come into the civil service office of the OPM. After 8 months, I die. One of these young wives was only 18, the other one is 22, the other one is 24. Trust me, they are getting a pension until they die. They remarry. 3 of them marry 3 other GIPF members. They continue to get more than 1 pension. And then you have a member without a child, without a spouse. But everybody on an equitable base have to be catered for, because you are a government who have different ministries, different qualification caters, people at different levels. And also when you really look at it from the side of a normal insurance entity. This happens to all of us who have our cars insured. On a very good year or 2 years, you don't pump your car at all. What happens to your provision? You are on medical aid. If it was not for this corona, many of us, for the most part, don't really see a hospital or a doctor. Do we ever go back and say, I have not seen a GP, I have not gotten my teeth cleaned, I have not glasses? These are all provisions. But the way the system works, should we all claim at the same time, it will go down. And that's the way a pension fund works. We take care of all the anomalies and all of life's ups and downs, so that at the end of the day, we say we are guaranteeing civil servants a life closer, very closer to what they were living when they were in office. And hence also, when you really look at it, Namibia is one of the countries that got independent very late. And our civil service is now maturing. Trust you me, we are at the danger when I look at the caliber in this office, in this hall, and those replacing us tomorrow. It's not the same. We pay out 5.4 billion a year in benefits to our members who are on retirement. What we are getting in has now significantly reduced over the years because the civil service is not able to employ more. Normally, the income and output is supposed to mirror each other. And we have a shortfall of over maybe close to 4 or 5 billion per annum. Where that shortfall is being paid for, I'm hoping my colleague, when he comes to talk about investments, will give this clear picture. But colleagues, that's what we are talking about when we are saying this is how we do things. We implement those policies. And I truly understand the frustration when it comes to representation, when it comes to how the board is made up. And these questions, trust you me, we are recording and we will put in our full report to the board. But at the same time, we constantly, to answer some of the questions, for the last 3-4 years, we are constantly on the road with roadshows. And when we go out, we try to avoid the big cities, especially where we have offices. We have now 14 offices over the country. This past year, we were in Ocholonjupa, we were in Omaheke. This year, we are going to 4 regions in the north, Kavango East, and then Zambezi. And when we go to the rural areas, and we spend days there. But we are talking about over 100,000 members. And it's not always that we'll get to them. But also for those who listen to our local languages, every month we are on the radio. We buy time on Kati FM, on Dabronama, Chirero. I know they have different names now. But we are there every day and members are able to call in. We are doing our best, but I know at every given point, our best is not enough until the work is completely done. And we hear you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. My question was, if I have a will, can I divert my will to so that I can all the benefits of GIPF according to my will? If I have a will, can I, because this, the benefits of GIPF is somehow, can I put it in my will the way I want it, including my pension benefit? I mean, how I divide my pension. And that is question 1. And question 2 is, why can't we, maybe GIPF have to see into this clause of where a spouse has to, when the other spouse died, and this one is continuing until he died, also she died. And even though this person gonna remarry, still continuing, are you not thinking that a heart of man is wicked? This person who's continuing to get pension, the another spouse can come and can do anything and continue to get double. Another person, it's not this, maybe can be amended so that if you marry, the benefit of the spouse must stop there. And the children benefit must continue as for the spouse.
Okay, those are all suggestions that can be put in, if you can put them in the evaluation form. But on the issue of the will, unfortunately, pension does not form part of your will. So even if you put it in your will to say, if I die, let my pension benefits only be paid to my mother or to whatever, that will not be granted. Because the trustees are the ones to take that decision. So you can have a will, but it will be separate from your pension. How the pension will be distributed, that decision will be taken by the trustees. For the sake of time, can I please ask that I continue so that I finish? Then my colleague Levy will continue and quickly do the topic on investments so that we can have a break. Can we do that? I know we have many questions, and that's why I also said we will also have a Q&A time where we can ask questions further, and also during the individual consultations so that we can then pay more attention. Because there are 5 or 6 of us, will then be able to handle all the questions as they are coming in. So if you can please just allow me to finish, I'm almost done, then we will continue with the investment presentation. Okay, funeral benefits. GIPF as a fund also offer funeral benefits. For example, if an active, a member who's active or a retired or a member on disability pass on, the fund will pay the family 8,000. This was also improved. It used to be 5,000 and then it was improved to 8,000. And actually before 96, there were no funeral benefits. And if you are an active member working and your spouse, qualifying spouse, also dies, then 8,000 will be paid. A qualifying child between the age of 1 up to 18 years, the fund pays 3,000. And for a child between 18 and 25 who is studying, the fund also pays 3,000. Qualifying child younger than 1, including a stillbirth, it's 1,000. And this benefit is payable per funeral, and it's also paid within 24 hours. What is important to note is that, for example, if you go on retirement and then you die at the age of 95, the fund will pay the funeral benefit only for you as a member, but not for your spouse. That is just where the differentiation is. And what we also advise members to do is to make additional provisions, because this is really just on assistance. We all know how funeral costs. So this will not be enough to cater for your funeral, but it is an assistance that can be given to the family. I will not go into details. Obviously, with the funeral, we need a copy of the death certificate and also proof of banking particulars of the person who will be claiming. And for all the benefits that we have discussed, to claim, there is a form that the employee needs to complete, or the claimant, and that has to be done at the HR office. Your HR office is the contact point. Whatever information or whatever form that needs to be done must be done at the HR office. And the employer must then forward the form to the GIPF. These are the statistics. According to NAMFISA, the fund must be valued every third year. The last valuation was on the 2021, but I'm not going to go into details. I want to pay more attention on the pension increases. Every year in April, the trustees gives on a pension increase. Those are the figures over the years. For example, April 2020, it was 3.5, April 2021, 3%, and for April 2022, it was 4.6. And for members on disability, the increase has not been as forthcoming as members who are on pension, simply because those increases are based on the increases of civil servants. And as we all know, civil servants have not received increases over the years. And investment returns, my colleague Levy is going to touch more on that, but I just want to bring you, for example, March 2020, the fund, there was a negative return, but even in that year, the fund still gave a pension increase. And that is really just an assurance to the members that even if the fund does not make returns, they will still then be able to give you an increase. And that is just to make sure that your pension is still able to keep up with the inflation. And with the contributions that we get, I'm going to be brief on this. 19.4.6% goes toward your retirement benefits, because the whole objective of a retirement fund is for you to get a pension.